come from somewhere, right? Like I'm paying you with the money that I have earned from the work that I've done. It's just, like I said in the last podcast episode, I'm not the Royal Dutch Bank, right? So I have to, if you're going to come work for me, you're going to work, you have to kind of eat what you kill, right? Or you have to kill what you eat. I mean, that's the thing. Like you can't just have other people's income pay your salary forever and you just sit back and just chill. Like you have to think about it. Like say if you're getting paid a 60K base or a 50K base or a 40K base, did you make that money then plus? Because if you're only going to make, if you're get paid 40K as a recruiter and you're only bringing in $40,000 a year as a recruiter, I mean, thanks, your personality is cool. Thanks for being here in this office, but we're here to be successful and make the money, not to just to float our salaries. And so you have to, consider those things.
Well, and I think what I'm hearing and just what I've seen in this industry and just in life in general, it takes, to be successful, it's more than just going through the motions and even just hitting your metrics. I mean, let's say someone hits all their calls and their meetings or whatever they have to hit, whatever their metrics are. I think the desire is another piece that it's a little bit more intangible, but if the desire is not there, you can go through the motions all you want. And I just don't see the same level of success as someone who's really into it. And like you said, with this conversation with this person, he just turned it. What was it? Maybe he just needed a whooping, like you said, and it kind of changed something in him. Whereas the other person maybe was still doing what he was supposed to be doing, but it wasn't there. And I've seen a lot of recruiters or salespeople just go through, I hit my numbers, I'm out at 2:00 because I hit my numbers. Well, is that really what this is about? Or is it about, either going above and beyond or maybe not even hitting your metrics, but just doing it at a different level that brings you that success? And it's hard to teach that. I think that's what makes a truly good recruiter versus someone who's just mediocre is you gotta want it. You gotta have that hunger for it.
I think a lot of it has to do too with kind of observing the matrix, if you will, like that conversation that you had with that guy, right? Like that kind of, you could see the matrix code, right? You could stop the bullets in the hallway with the agents and stuff like that. I mean, that's a huge moment. I think when people understand what it takes to be successful, what it takes to, what drives the business, like the gears behind, like once you see the man behind the curtain and you understand what it takes to make the money that these places make, I think that's when it all kind of clicks. And I have a quick example because I had this conversation earlier with a friend of mine who works at Harley. Okay, they work at the Harley Davidson dealership. And they sell, like, they're in the clothing section of Harley, right? So they're like, man, I'm not making that much money. I'm making the commission. They're making commission, but they're also making $500 every 2 weeks. So it's $250, and then they have to make a commission off of the sales. I want more money. I need to make more money. And I said, well, okay, like you want more money, but how much are you selling? And then they ended up telling me kind of what the amount of money that they think that they were averaging. So like $2,500 a week in sales, right? I'm like, okay, well, say their margin, they're probably profiting like $500 and maybe they're selling, the cost to them was $2,000, right? They're selling $500. So then what are they doing every week? They're paying you $250 of that $500 of profit, right? But then they're going to pay you commission into that. So really how much room for increased pay is there for you outside of the commission that you're being structured on if you're only selling $2,500 in gear a week, right? And then they were like, oh, wow, well, I guess I didn't really think of it like that. And you go, well, that will explain it. And if that's not enough money for you, you could either, one, increase your sales, or two, get a different job. You know what I mean? And it's nothing against the company because you want to be like, oh, this damn company, But really, in the end of the day, if you understand the math and you understand what goes into the business, and it's logical, right? It's not like they're pulling these crazy, margins or whatever, right? It's like they're like, oh man, I'm just rolling up in here in like a bathrobe and with throwing money all around, right? Like you have to understand what goes into it in order to be successful and to have the knowledge that's going to continue to drive you to be successful, I guess.
Well, yeah, and in our business specifically, it still blows my mind that people have been doing this for a long time, still don't understand how to figure out their, GM, or they don't know where they're at currently or their GM percentage. Like, how do you not know those things? Like, if you're in this to make money, you got to understand that, But I've been around a lot of people who either they just don't care, and they're like, well, I get paid what I get paid. Like, I want to know what I'm getting paid. And like anything else, you have to understand what you're doing. And I think truly dive in, because then you're like, okay, if I want to make this, then I got to get to here. It's simple math once you understand it.
I think that's testament though to where you start out in recruiting though, right? So Andy, being in these bigger companies like you've been in, and you hire, so if anyone listening and you're a recruiter looking for, a job and you have some finance and accounting experience, call Andy. Shoot him a message, because he might be able to have something for you. Throwing in a little
thank you very much
thing there for you. When you bring new recruiters on, because Andy and I are in the same building, and I meet some of his people, and they're like some of the happiest, just nicest people. It's crazy. They're really, really like just great. He's got a great team here, and they all seem to be very happy with what they're doing. When you bring people in who are fresh, what do you put them through? Like, what kind of information gathering session, and how are you bringing them up to speed to get to that point?
So I guess during the whole interview process, in the past I've done like those PI test or DISC, whatever you want to do it or use. I'm not a huge fan of those things, but I have done them, and sometimes they're a company mandate. And I hate to say it, but I kind of use just what's my hunch, like what's my feel, and particularly when you ask questions, reading their body language. So I'll ask my wife a question, and I can tell by her body language if she's mad or she's happy or if she's lying to me.
Yeah.
So just asking people, now I do probably less interviewing now than I did before. I don't interview all the recruiters we hire because I trust, my team to hire the right people. But when I do, it's that gut feeling, right? In terms of, is this person going to be successful? And a lot of people that we do hire don't come from staffing experience. They don't have to have an accounting and finance background. They don't have to have this background or that background. And it's not really about who wants to help people, but it's more about what motivates you. And money does not need to be number one in my eyes. No. I've had other people say it has to be number one, but I can go make more money somewhere else. But I love what I do. But in terms of what is your motivation? What type of job are you also interviewing for? So I've asked people, what else are you pursuing besides this? And if it's roles that are very, very similar to what I'm looking for, I like them. If it's different, then I said, nope, they're just desperate for a job. Let's move on to the next person. They're probably unemployed. And they're just like any of us would be, they're just desperate to find a job because they have to feed the mouths for the family and so on. So I totally get it. But it's not the right fit for us long term for that. I love referrals. Yeah. Absolutely love referrals. I love the fact that when people put their name on the person, because I'll say, hey guys, give me some referrals. But before I ask for the names, just know whoever you refer over, if the person works out, I'll give you kudos. If they don't work out, I'm going to come back to you and say, hey, thanks for your dud referral. But
you have lost all credibility.
But for the most part, people get that. I think early on, I always get some dud referrals. Yeah. And then I had to start saying, hey, guys, just because you like your friend doesn't mean they could be successful at this. And just my team right now, I think almost every single hire we've made is come through referrals. They love what they do. They're making more money than they've made before. Mm-hmm. It's a good culture, despite being in temporary space for the past year. But knock on wood, we'll be out of temporary space soon. But they keep on referring their network over to me, and you kind of build that successful, enjoyable, fun environment. I'm not that fun of a guy, to be honest, but I allow other people to have the fun around me. Then it just kind of becomes contagious, and it kind of turns into that winning environment. And so that to me is important, is that winning environment.
This is a little bit off topic, but things that you said earlier and then what you're saying now leads me to a question, and I'll ask it to you, then I'll maybe tell you why I'm asking. How many of your last jobs have you gotten by applying to some online portal or to a job posting?
None.
All right. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, none. So I got into recruiting back in 2003. I was a candidate of back then Agile and Finance, now Accounting Principles. And the person who was interviewing me was getting promoted to a different role. And they were desperate for somebody. I was desperate for a job, and I was doing accounting at the time. And I love numbers, but accounting's just boring to me personally. I'm not good at it either, so that probably doesn't help. But so I got the job through, I don't know if it's referral or networking, but I didn't apply to be a staffing manager at Agile Finance. It just kind of worked out that way. Yeah. And then when I joined Robert Half, I got that role through a referral. It was the middle of the recession in 2008, 2009. Yeah. No one was hiring. At that point, I was an RVP, and no one was hiring RVPs either. And through a referral, I got the role there, and they actually created a role for me. And then going to JDA, it was through my network where they called me saying, hey, are you interested? And then lastly, it was through an old colleague, an old employee who was, she was one of my office coordinators back in 2003, and her and I kept in touch through social media mostly. Yeah. And first time she pitched me, and then second time she pitched me for a job coming back. So I think it's important to be looking at what's opening, but it's that network of just constantly talking to people, running into you, Dino. I was like, I think I know that guy, and then making that connection. And yesterday I had lunch with somebody who I've known for a while and trying to help him out, find something out. And again, like nothing's in it for me. Like I don't ever ask, what can you do for me? And it's not because I don't want things done for me, but if you have the attitude going into what can I do for you? How can I serve you? It comes back to you 10 times, but don't want that. Don't expect it. I do it at home, unfortunately, where I will do something for my kids and I expect a thank you.
Right.
And I don't get it all the time. And I don't expect thank yous at work, yet I expect it at home because it's my kid. But I don't expect thank you from friends, but I expect it from my family. Yeah. But with business, with networking, go into it. How can I help you? Yeah. And it has helped me in the last 5+ years substantially. A light bulb went off. Yeah. How can I serve other people?
Well, and the reason I asked you that is because I kind of picked up on that. And I think it's so important on both sides of what we do. Our side, because I'm the same way. I mean, Dino got me into this industry, and I've not applied online at any of the positions I've held since. It's been through people or you meet, and I think it's so important. It goes back to your reputation and working hard and doing well, but it's also important for the candidate side. Candidates, we'll joke about different candidates in the market who have burned bridges or have done things that didn't make them look the best. And people don't realize that is so important because you're going to get your next job or you're going to get your next, business partner, whatever it is, generally through people that you've worked with in your network. And that is such an undervalued part of this business, I think, because you've gotten all your jobs that way. That's how I have. I mean, pretty much Dino too, I think. And then a lot of the people I work with. I mean, I've placed several candidates over and over and over because of relationships. And that's such a key part of this business. Everything in this business, I think, revolves around relationships and just genuinely taking care of people, like you said. Like, not asking for anything in return, but just treating people well. And I'm a big believer of what goes around comes around because you do something small and eventually it comes back to you.
Yeah,
for sure.
When I was at JDA, we our referral numbers were pretty low considering that, it's a good place to work for sure. And I think our referral numbers were only about 25% of all hires came through referrals. And I'm like, seems kind of low. It's a software company. They pay pretty well. It's a big company here in town. Great reputation, good products. It should be much higher than that. So once you start talking about it and then talking to managers and talking to new hires, who else do you know? Who else do you know? We went from, I think, 25% referral up to 45% within a year, which helped, obviously, fill jobs faster, better quality hires.
Save money on vendors, right?
We went from paying $500 to $1 million a year on fees to we paid 2 fees my 2.5 years there. Wow. So
really?
I went from
2 fees?
Yeah, we paid 2 fees. And so
Man,
I went from... I went from being everybody's best friend, everybody hating me because all my recruiter friends were calling me asking for a business. I'm like, we don't have anything here for you. And as a recruiter on the agency side, you think, yeah, you're full of it, right? But the reality is that we basically kind of built an internal agency model at JDA because my team all came from previous agencies, Robert Half or from accounting principles. And I said, guys, stop calling your friends